woke up today and decided I'd have a nice wholesome jog to welcome in this lovely time of the year that we call spring. Whilst I was outside running, I passed by a group of lads from which turned to me as I passed and said, "Hello, Mum. Lovely day, isn't it?" Well, call me old-fashioned, but I smiled at the young boy and politely concurred with him. In all, lovely day. The day's in, and I find myself back on the Wonderbox and onto the interweb. It was only then, when I came onto YouTube, that I found out that earlier in the day I had actually been sexually and viciously harassed. Well then, I didn't really understand this. I still don't. But we have this amazing video to sort it out for us.
Hi, welcome to Feminist Fridays, a series where we explore the social, the political, and the media from a feminist and intersectional perspective, and use a lot of F words.
Feminist Fridays. Oh, neat. It's too bad she's not throwing a party. Fridays are such throw-a-party kind of days. Bother that on Friday she has to sit at home all by herself and talk about feminism. Oh well.
So a video has been going around in the last couple weeks entitled 10 Hours of Walking Around NYC as a Woman.
NYC? That's New York City if I'm remembering correctly. So I'm assuming that she's implying that by simply being a woman, it's an ordeal to walk around the city. Well, her argument explaining why should be interesting.
The video was released by an organization called Hollaback, a nonprofit group that aims to end street harassment. The video follows a woman silently walking the streets of New York, and she experiences some interesting encounters, to put it nicely, by strangers such as this.
Hey, what's up, girl? How you doing?
Oh, very lovely, thank you.
Hey, baby.
Hello, sir.
Hey, beautiful.
Hi, love.
Hello, 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 how are you? Hello, 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 how are you? I'm good. I'm great. I'm wonderful.
A lot of women and news sources have applauded the video for presenting an experience that almost all women have to deal with on a regular, if not daily, basis.
Well, now, I think that'd be lovely. To go outside and be told I'm beautiful, if a young lass to bid me good morning as I walk. Sounds like a regular Sunday afternoon at church back when I was growing up. Goodness, I never knew that this new generation of women was so bitter to see something like this as a bad thing. Heavens. I wonder what would happen if someone did actually say something inappropriate to them. That'd be a bother, would it?
First of all, what constitutes sexual harassment? I really like Hollaback's definition of harassment that says, street harassment is a form of sexual harassment that takes place in public spaces. At its core is a power dynamic that constantly reminds historically subordinated groups, women and LGBTQ folks, of their vulnerability for assault in public spaces. Further, it reinforces the ubiquitous sexual objectification of these groups in everyday life.
Well, let's consult the Google and look up the actual definition of sexual harassment. Why is it that these people's definition of things and the rest of the world's definition of things never match up with one another? Something idiotic afoot.
According to StopStreetHarassment.org, street harassment includes verbal comments, honking, whistling, vulgar gestures, leering, staring, groping, stalking, attempted or achieved assault, etc. while in a public place.
Which absolutely none of those things shown were.
Many girls and women see sexual harassment as a normal thing, mainly because of false assumptions perpetuated by society about male and female sexuality.
I'm guessing what you mean to say, love, is stereotypes perpetuated by your arch nemesis, men.
These assumptions do an injustice to both women and
This lot always adds and men just so that they can keep up the illusion that feminism actually does something for your average male. See, this is what I don't like about modern feminism. At least back when I was growing up, feminists never claimed to be a movement for anything but women. Some of them even openly stated that they hated men. Terrible, yes. But at least it wasn't sneaky. Hid under a veil of rubbish like it is today.
Men. Some of these assumptions include men having no control over their sexual urges, which most men know is bullshit.
If you lot think it's malarkey, as you say, then why is it so important to teach men not to rape? If men are fully capable of controlling themselves sexually, this wouldn't be necessary now, would it? At least, it shouldn't be. I think you lot just say things like that so you can come off as appealing to both sides of the argument, when in reality, you're all very biased towards the one.
This idea paints all men as potential rapists and rape as a crime of passion rather than a crime of power.
No, saying that we need to teach men not to rape paints all men as potential rapists. Also, isn't it you lot who attempted to refute that crime of power thesis? You all have lasses like Lacey Green widening the definition of rape so much that it being a crime of passion or a crime of power becomes completely irrelevant, because seemingly innocent things that constitute neither of these ideas can now be considered as rape.
This assumption also puts the expectation on women that they have to endure harassment and aggression by men because, ladies, you just gotta deal with it. There's also the assumption that women's sexuality exists for the benefit of men, and men are entitled to comment on female and female-presenting bodies in public spaces. Women's bodies are not on public display for men to sexualize and give their opinions on. They're attached to women who have brains and personalities and a lot of shit to do rather than deal with harassment.
Forgive me for not making an argument, but how does comments like "good day" and "how are you" objectifying comments that purports males have entitlement to women's bodies? None of the lads in this video shown even mention any part of that young woman's body. I don't see the connection that you're trying to make here, love.
I'm just going to clear up a couple of myths that I've been seeing a lot recently pertaining to sexual harassment. Women just can't take a compliment. You don't get to decide for a woman whether or not she should take something as a compliment.
Yes. This is true, but neither do you.
If you tell me I gave a good presentation in class or that you like my outfit, then chances are I will gladly accept those compliments because they're genuine and they make me feel good. The problem is when you say something to a stranger that doesn't make them feel good and you try to dictate how they should feel or react. Surprisingly, saying your eyeliner is on point today and hey baby, you're looking damn fine are gonna elicit very different responses from a woman.
I apologize to my viewers who are subjugated to this opinion, as it does not reflect the views and opinions of any women on the planet Earth, save for feminists.
You know harassment isn't a compliment when, hey, you look beautiful can escalate to fuck you bitch in 0.2 seconds.
In your example, you paint us women as passive-aggressive, bipolar nutters, which we are most certainly not. At least, most of us aren't. Well, some of us.
Only attractive women get harassed. According to Stop Street Harassment, a nonprofit organization that studies and works to end harassment, 2/3 of women experience street harassment. The survey was the first national study on street harassment and surveyed 2,000 people across all ages, races, sexual orientations, and geographic locations. The report summary stated that most women in the United States experience street harassment, and some men, especially men who identify as gay, bisexual, queer, or transgender.
If everyone followed this rubric, no one would compliment anyone, because technically anything can offend anyone for any reason. Even saying your presentation was on point today. If I were a proper bipolar nutter, I could easily get offended by that too. Or if someone waved at me, I could get offended by that. Yes, people can't dictate to what we can and can't feel, but people are free to say what they wish. If it has good intentions and it's not openly meant to be offensive or rude, then I would hope you have in your brain the ability to process what's meant as something derogatory and what's not. If not, I can only imagine you live a very sheltered, bitter, having people walking on eggshells filtered life.
You wouldn't mind if it was someone attractive harassing you. The key factor of sexual harassment is that it's unwanted. It doesn't matter how attractive the person harassing you is as long as it makes you feel uncomfortable or demeaned. Fucking John Krasinski could be whistling at me across the street, and it wouldn't matter because it's still gonna make me feel offended and disrespected.
No. I'm sorry. And please, for all my viewers listening, I don't mean to descend to such levels. You know I try my best to keep a level of poshness that every member of the family can enjoy, but for lack of a better way to put it, I'm going to have to betray my caricature. My darlings, am going to have to call bullshit on that one. Yes, I said it. Even if this had a grain of merit to it, I still would call BS. Girls love being complimented by attractive guys. You know it, and I know it. I know girls who would bark like a hyena at an ugly lad who said one thing to them, but would laugh and giggle at an attractive bloke who said the same thing. I've grown up seeing it. I have seen it in the workplace. I've seen it during my first marriage, and I'm still seeing it today. On the internet and in real life, people have experimented with this, and to staggering results. Not only is this horridly untrue, but there are thousands of articles of evidence to point directly to the contrary. And might I add to end this comment, if Channing Tatum or John Krasinski even looked your way and winked at you, you'd be weak in the knees, lockjawed, and struggling to get over yourself. You would, and we all know you would. So stop that, stop that, stop that, stop that.
You have the right to remain.
Street harassment is harmless. Well, last month, 2 women were brutally attacked on separate occasions simply for rejecting unwanted advances from strange men. One woman was killed and the other woman was left in critical condition. It's instances like these that leave so many women afraid to stand up for themselves against street harassers, because often it escalates to verbal abuse and in these cases, brutal physical violence.
These lads are saying good morning to this woman. They're not grabbing at her, honking at her. None of them even approached her and asked her for anything. I've been street harassed by men nearly all my life, and it's never once led to me being brutally beaten to death or killed. You lot are a very bitter bunch, and you're all blowing something that is mildly offensive and utterly harmless out of proportion and trying to make it out like it's the worst thing ever. If this is how thin-skinned you are, I could only imagine how you'd be if actual conflict ever came your way. This is shocking in how in bad taste this all is. We love our brothers, and I love the compliments, and I can speak for my generation at least, and for a few women who do as well.
So I can't even say hi to a woman without being labeled a sexual predator. It's sometimes hard to make definitive statements about what does and doesn't count as sexual harassment because context is important and differs from situation to situation. If I walk into an elevator and a stranger says hi to me in order to be polite, that's very different than if they were to address me in a creepy way in order to come on to me. The tone of the comment and any nonverbal cues that the stranger might use all make up the context of the situation. But women aren't oblivious and can usually easily tell the difference between someone being creepy and harassing them and someone being genuinely nice.
I think it's a shame, actually, that more people don't compliment each other on the street. So many people are into their smartphones and gadgets, we barely interact with each other anymore. If receiving compliments from men put you lot off so much, then fine, stay indoors, but don't ruin a good thing for the rest of us.
Also, if you're hearing that the majority of women have to deal with frequent sexual harassment and on top of that have to worry about being assaulted or killed for speaking up about it, and your main concern is that you can't hit on strangers you see on the street, then I would reconsider your fucking priorities.
Right, I agree on that bit. Men should reconsider their priorities. So then what about these lasses then?
What's going on, guys? We're in New York City and I'm about to walk through the streets of New York and see the kind of harassment, as they like to call it, that I go through in my daily life.
I'm sure they need to learn to sort out their fucking priorities too, yes? Goodness me, what are we doing, loves?
Also, if you're interested in sharing your own stories of sexual harassment in a safe place, or just want to know a little bit more about the nature and frequency of sexual harassment, you can check out the blog that I run on Tumblr called Everyday Harassment. Be warned that it does contain stories detailing sexual assault that may be triggering, so proceed with caution.
Yes, I'll make sure not to. Thank you for the video, love. And now for a chat. Hello, lads. We have a lot to discuss, don't we? Sometimes in this world we find that not everything is as it seems. Sometimes in the grass lies luscious flowers, but snakes loom there as well. Sometimes in life we find groups that feel they can set the status quo, one that institutes their own dogma with an attempt to leave the rest of us with no choice in the matter between what we choose to believe and what they want us to believe. These are the times we live in now. Though I must say, they aren't all bad. Why, you may ask? Well, that's because we aren't all bad. Some of us women, that is, have in ourselves a special kind of reasoning. We can take the world around us and see the beauty in its roots. When I was growing up way back when, I lived in a world where people smiled at each other, cars honked at you on your way to school, the postman bid you a good evening. Everyone spoke to each other, and in such a way that you knew you were safe. That's all but disappeared today, hasn't it? And a shame. Some of us have become so self-absorbed and so obsessed with our views being right, with our political ideologies coming to volition, that we forget the simple things sometimes, and even demonize them because they go against our collective. We demonize things like a simple good day. It's enough to make you shiver. Oh, but what is grey is not yet black, and grey can always be cleaned. So keep hope alive and never falter. If you're ever outside and a nice young lady walks by, I encourage you, shoot a compliment her way. Be respectful. Talk to her as you'd want someone to talk to you. And I guarantee you, lads, you won't get back a squawk. At least not from a normal lass. No, you'll get back a smile. Please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and do share this with your friends. I've got a lot more videos coming your way, and who knows, maybe I'll even do something special for you all. I do enjoy our little chats, but this one's come to an end. Do take care, and have a blessed day.
Also, if you're interested in sharing your own stories of sexual harassment in a safe place, or just want to know a little bit more about the nature and frequency of sexual harassment, you can check out the blog that I run on Tumblr called Everyday Harassment.
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!